the trade deadline has come and passed, and wouldn't you know it, no Giannis trade. Giannis stays put. Maybe we get a Giannis trade in the summer. He also put out basically the "I'm not leaving. I'm not bleeping leaving" from Leo DiCaprio, Wolf of Wall Street. What did he say? Those legends don't chase, they attract. Were the Bucks right? Were the Bucks right for keeping Giannis? Because this is a ticking time bomb, if you will, right? I mean, unless Giannis does really wants to stay a Buck for life and he doesn't care about how long a rebuild's going to take and he's going to pull a Damian Lillard until maybe another 4 or 5 years from now when he's 35, 36, and maybe after, 4 straight first-round playoff exits or, nowhere close to a championship, maybe then, like Damian Lillard, Portland finally cracked him. Maybe Milwaukee will finally crack Giannis. The difference is Dame never even got to a finals. Giannis has a title. But either way, this is kind of a ticking time bomb here for Milwaukee because Giannis is under contract next year, and then he's got a player option. So the value by the day of what you can get back for Giannis, multiple first-round picks, multiple young, talented players, a trade haul that really would match any trade we've seen in the last 5-10 years, not including the Luka Doncic trade because that was the most moronic trade in the history of sports by Nico Harrison. But so this is a two-pronged question. Was Milwaukee right for keeping Giannis? And I know that there's levels to this stuff, right? Like you could say, well, maybe they didn't get enough good trade value. Maybe there should have been a line where they should have said, hey, this is the best we're going to get. We got to trade him because we might not get a better return in the summer. We might not get a better return next year. Was Milwaukee right for keeping him? And also on the other side, was the rest of the league right or wrong for not going and trading Giannis? Because, like I said, there is the possibility that they repair this relationship, that Giannis doesn't get traded ever. He does remain a Buck for life, and teams like the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Miami Heat had their best chance these last 72 hours, and they missed it. My opinion is it's obviously great for Milwaukee because if you can convince Giannis to stay, you build around him. It might take a couple years. If he's willing to stay, that's better. Having Giannis is better than not having Giannis. And for the rest of the league, yeah, I really do think they missed an opportunity here. And if it meant maybe having to give up a little bit more than you wanted to, I mean, this is a guy that's 31 years old. Yeah, the calf strains he suffered this year are a little bit concerning. The injury history he's had in the past, a little bit concerning. But this is still a guy that, is a top 5 player in the game. And you had an opportunity to change the direction of your franchise if you're any of those teams, especially this year where Oklahoma City looks very beatable and you just missed out. So I think Milwaukee comes away with this as the winner. I think the rest of the league, the teams that were in pursuit of Giannis, they really missed an opportunity because they might not get the same opportunity this summer to trade for him.
Yeah, you and I are on a very similar wavelength. I think this is a classic case of possibly ramping up the FOMO, a fear of missing out, right? So Giannis stays there in Milwaukee, and maybe they build, the franchise around him, and they got some key assets, and they flourish. And, maybe people are like, well, we should have backed up the damn truck. We should have offered Greenland. We should have offered Cuba. We should have offered Bermuda. To try to get him and his services, and maybe it wasn't enough. The hole that was, placed in front of the Bucks front office, and they decided not to pull the trigger on a move. I mean, it had to be a mother load bestowed upon them to even entertain trading one of the elite players in the NBA and the entire world. So I think Milwaukee did, wisely make the right decision. They didn't go really into this hastily and to say, hey, it's imperative. It is a must that we have to wheel and deal Giannis, highest and best offer. We'll get him. They didn't get the bestest of the best offer in their mind, so decided to retain him. And now they're going to try to build around him. If I were, and I am definitely a betting man, to place a market, and there's something available right now on BetMGM, on Giannis to get traded this summer, I would probably put it like plus 250 right now, maybe plus 200. I think it's within the realm of possibility, more of a longer shot, not the longest shot by any stretch, but plus 200, plus 250 feels about right because somebody may have some regrets down the home stretch, and maybe they just miss the playoffs as a result. Maybe they get bounced early in the playoffs, and they're like, you know what? We got to reconvene on some of these conversations with the Bucks front office. We got to see where the mind is at still on Giannis, because we are going to raise the price tag and the offer on our end to acquire his services. We got the draft picks. We got the young players, whatever team that is. They're going to push the stack of chips into the center of the pot and let it ride. So, I think that is something that could unfold this offseason, but you're entirely right. The big winners of the day, of this moment right now, the Milwaukee Bucks, because they still had the L word, and that is leverage.
Were the Bucks right in keeping Giannis, and oppositely, was the rest of the league, where the teams pursuing Giannis, did they miss their best shot to get him? Because I can easily look at this on the flip side. I tend to agree that if he didn't get traded here, that it, like you said, you put it at plus 250 that he gets traded this summer. This almost kind of feels like we're getting closer and closer to Giannis just saying, I'm a Buck for life, no matter what. Shams Charania could put out all the desperate attempts, his reports, as many years as he wants. Milwaukee, I'm here for life. And we got closer to that today. We didn't get further away from it, for sure. We got closer. The fact that he wasn't traded. But also, maybe he does decide this summer, hey, you know what? I'm eligible for an extension October 1st. Middle of the season is always tougher to try to get something done than in the summer, where we normally see the bigger blockbuster deals get done. Maybe I can get something done. Maybe some other teams can jump in after they fail in the playoffs and they've got contracts that are no longer on the books and it's easier to make a trade. You never know. Maybe that is what's happening for Giannis, because he's also going to be out for another couple of weeks here with his calf strain. And then the last month of the season is going to be essentially meaningless for him in Milwaukee.
Right.
And so maybe, who knows, maybe he wants a fresh start a new year fresh with a new team. And maybe the rest of the league can say, well, you know what? Milwaukee was asking for too much. We're not that desperate. We're not that desperate for a guy that's hurt right now. And maybe we get a better asking price in the summer when we only have to pay for a year of his contract plus the player option, but you basically a year of his contract, and he'll be closer to 32, and we can give up one less draft pick or two less draft picks. And also, maybe there is a little bit of concern about his injury past. I'm not necessarily concerned, but he missed all 6 games versus the Pacers in 2024 with the calf injury. They got knocked out by Indiana. He missed games 2 and 3 versus Miami with the back injury in 2023 when they were the 1 seed, got knocked out in the first round. And even the year they won the chip in 2021, he missed the final 2 games of the Eastern Conference Finals versus Atlanta with a hyperextended knee. Sooner or later, it doesn't just become a fluke. It becomes a trend. I still see Giannis Antetokounmpo as somebody that changes your franchise and gets you that much closer to winning a title. But everybody does have an expiration. And so maybe Milwaukee realized, hey, man, other teams don't view this guy as highly as we do. Maybe it was humbling. Maybe deep down, maybe Shams had a little something. Maybe he was right about some stuff. Maybe Giannis did kind of leak a little bit something, kind of put it out there. And maybe he was underwhelmed by the response. Maybe, what his agent and what Milwaukee's been telling him, and GM John Horst and Doc Rivers, maybe they're saying, hey, man, flat out, here's the offers we're getting. Sorry, this ain't good enough to trade you. Maybe you need to reconsider staying in Milwaukee, or you can play out the rest of this contract and you could try to get, you could try to seek free agency in another 12, 14 months from now, and you can have it that way. But, you want to stick around for a rebuild or a retooling? We're trying. If you want to go elsewhere, then you can do that next year. But Milwaukee at the same time would also like to get something back for him. But that's where we come back to the side that I initially agree for here, is that they're running out of time. Unless they know for sure that Giannis is going to stay with them for life, you're running out of time. Because each day that now passes, you're losing trade value on one of the best players in basketball.